Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It is Thursday, June 25th, 2020, and we don't have a regular show today. We are running with a bit of a unscripted show where I'm just going to tell you about a few things. The main reason we don't have a show today, well, there's two reasons we don't have a show today. One, it's probably maybe the slowest news day we've ever had. Definitely ranks up there in the top 3 slowest news days. We only had 20 stories in the news feed. That's the email that we send out every morning at 7 o'clock that just has all the industry's stories. So if it's a relevant story, it ends up on the news feed. This morning, only 20 headlines. And the news feed is what I draw the top 10 stories from. So when I looked at that 20, there's only about 7 stories that are really worth mentioning, maybe 8, but not 10. And that's the number of times that's happened over the past, 3 years I've been doing this, the Daily News podcast. I'm not sure if that's happened. Maybe once where it's just like, I can't really find 10 stories. So that happened. And the second contributing factor to us not having a story today is just the date. It's June 25th, and we're getting really close to July. And if you're a long-time listener to the show, you know that I take some time off in July. And we're getting close. And I got senioritis. What can I say? In the midst of all the craziness in this world, I'm really looking forward to my time off. So my motivation to put a show together with the 7 weak-ass stories that are on the docs just didn't really come together. So along that note, I haven't really talked about it, but I'm going to here just to let you know. But I'm taking some time off in July. Last year, I took 2 weeks off from producing the. Last year, I took 2 weeks off from producing the newsfeed email and the daily podcast. And this year, I'm taking more time because 2 weeks just didn't feel like enough. So I'm taking all of July off. So I'm not completely taking July off from work because we're still going to be producing our weekly shows, but you're not going to be hearing the news podcast during July because I'm taking the time off. And longtime listeners know that this is also a little kind of just a funny little issue that I've talked about a few times because I was once accused by a listener of taking too much vacation, and I felt compelled to answer that. So I guess I should just talk about this a little bit here because I do realize and recognize that taking a whole month off of doing your job is pretty luxurious, and it's a privilege to be able to do that. And it's one that I acknowledge that I'm lucky to take and to be able to take. But it's definitely one that it's a choice that I'm going to make and take because it makes my life better. And I was actually thinking about this, the amount of, I guess the amount of the balance in this job here that I've crafted myself, the balance between work and like not work time is like exactly perfect for me, like all the way down and up and down the time scale. So like throughout an hour, just any given hour during my day, like the amount of work that I have to do is balanced by, like every now and then I'll, goof off and, read a meme or story or check the news or whatever. And then throughout the week, it's kind of the same thing where, I now actually take the weekends off. So it's really nice having those 2 days off. So I work and then I take the time off. It gives me a little breathing time. And then on a larger scale, I really have to take some time off, some like major time twice a year because I don't think I could do this job. If I just had to sit down and produce the news 52, even 50 hours, even not hours, weeks a year, if I just did this job without taking vacation, I would burn out because I know myself. So this is really the only way that you can get the news feed and the daily podcasts, all the time, or not all the time, but year after year is if I take this time off, because if I didn't, I would quit because it would just be too much. I have to recharge my batteries, and the way I recharge is by completely disengaging from work or disengaging as much as I can. So So while I still will be producing Marijuana Today and the Green Rush and the Weed Wonks and Eat Well, Travel Often, the weekly shows that we produce, like I said, the daily here will be going dormant. So it's a long ramble explaining why we don't have a show today and why, the daily is going to just be going quiet soon. So this is your official heads up. My plan is to, be back with everything in August after some time off. But I will say that I'm not completely going on vacation. I'm actually working on a very cool new project. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this time that I take off, and I'm going to use some of it to work on new podcast projects. So some people might know that one of my passions in life outside of podcasting and all the things that I do here for work is I like to canoe camp. So I'm going to go on a canoe camping adventure this July, a very small little canoe camping adventure. I'm going to be bringing my recording equipment, and I'm going to try my hand at recording a kind of travelogue podcast. And my plan, kind of my long-term plan, is next summer I want to paddle a river here in New Hampshire and Maine that I love to paddle on. I'm going to paddle the entire paddleable distance. It's about 123 miles, and I'm going to turn it into a podcast. And what I want to do this summer is I'm just going to do a test run. I've paddled a lot of the river, but I want to actually do a test run to see if I can make a piece of audio that is, listenable and compelling and worthy of the time. So this July, some of the time that I'm taking off, I'm going to be going on I think it's going to be a 4-night, 5-day canoe paddle. And I'm going to bring my gear, and I'm going to have some ideas on what I'm going to talk about and what I'm going to record and how I'm going to craft it together. And I'm going to put together a pilot episode of what I would like to produce next year, because I own a media company that makes podcasts, and it doesn't just need to be about marijuana. I would like to try to make some podcasts about other things. And I like adventures. I like outdoor adventures. So why wouldn't I try to make outdoor adventure podcasts? So that's the plan. I'm going to keep obviously producing marijuana industry shows because I'm really super interested in this industry and this line of work and this whole topic. And I'm just as passionate about that as anything else I'm passionate about in my life. So, but I would like to diversify a bit because it makes life more interesting. So, very, very, very long story short, we'll be going quiet in July, but still be making stuff. So, and with that, we're going to lead into an episode of the Green Rush podcast, one of the shows in our little network. This is a really fun one. We actually interviewed Jim Belushi. You should know that name because he's one of the names that people know. He's an actor. He's a cannabis entrepreneur. He actually owns a very large farm in Oregon along a beautiful river, and he grows and sells cannabis. Like, he's actually like a farmer. So, Jim Belushi, actor Jim Belushi, he's a musician as well. He's pretty well known in the cannabis industry, just has a lot to talk about. He spoke with the Green Rush crew, and it's a good show. So that just went up this week, and we're going to republish it here. So give a listen. If you heard it on the Green Rush, then you can skip it, or you can listen to it again because it's good. You should check out the Green Rush podcast over at greenrushpodcast.net. So with that, I will now stop talking. We are going to produce one more episode of the Daily tomorrow. It's Friday the 26th. And so we will actually have maybe actually on Tuesday next week. I'm not sure how my motivation to work will feel. We'll see how the news flows. Maybe I'll crank one more show. So one or two more shows of the Daily after this, but then we're on summer break. So if you feel the need to chastise me for my work-life balance choices, I welcome comments. I'll go back and forth with you on email. You can always email me at shay@mjtodaymedia.com, SHEA. All right. And with that, I'm going to stop talking. Here's the Green Rush. I'll be back with news tomorrow. And then, Welcome to The Green Rush, a podcast about the intersection of cannabis, the capital markets, and culture. On a weekly basis, hosts Ann Donahoe and Louis Goldberg of KCSA Strategic Communications speak with the business leaders, financial experts, cultural icons, legislators, and generally interesting people moving the cannabis industry forward. Today, Ann is joined by Phil Carlson, KCSA's own Managing Director of Investor Relations. Phil heads up KCSA's cannabis practice and is filling in for Louis. This week's guest needs little introduction. He's an actor, musician, comedian, all-around entertainer, but he's also deep in the cannabis business. With a nearly 100-acre farm in the heart of Oregon's beautiful Banana Belt, he's getting his hands in the dirt and producing some of the most talked about cannabis in the state with brands like Captain Jack, the Blues Brothers, Good Ugly Weed, and, well, this gives it away, Belushi's Secret Stash. You may have already guessed who we're talking about, the one, the only Jim Belushi. Now on to the conversation.
Jim, thank you so much for joining us today on The Green Rush. We're really excited to have you. As most of and happy almost birthday, because in stalking you, we realized that your birthday is the 15th. Mine's the 14th. So happy Gemini.
Happy birthday to both of you.
Yes. Thank you. And I think most of our listeners know your background as an actor, musician, performer, but we really wanted to talk about your cannabis background. What brought you to the plant, and how did you decide that it would not only be a part of your life, but a part of your career?
Well, I was an old hippie in high school, and, I smoked that ragweed, 5%, 6% THC. I did all kinds of things in high school. I was a juvenile delinquent. I smoked pot. I actually got busted a couple times for some pot. Actually, one time I got busted and it wasn't pot. We thought it was pot. We went to Indiana because there's a lot of pot growing in Indiana, and we went and we cut weeds and we baked it. We didn't know what we were doing.
Anyway,
we got busted.
Like dandelions.
They were just, I don't know what they were, man. I looked at 5 leaves. Well, this one has 3. Well, we didn't know what we were doing. And then I really didn't do much cannabis after that. I never did any kind of drinking or smoking or anything to interfere with my acting, because my acting was my healing and my joy and my euphoria. And then I came to Oregon to visit a friend, a billionaire friend down the river, and he had 3,500 acres on the Rogue River, and our kids were the same age. So it was a family thing. And then one day I went into the river skinny dipping, and I came out and I went, I should find a place here. So I found this old Elks picnic grounds along the river. And it took me 3 years to get it. Long story, but I'm not going to go into that. But I got it, and I've reinvented it. And then the farm came up behind me. Becca, who's the sweetest, she was like a sister to me. I just fell in love with her. And she passed, and she wanted me to have it. And I take care of her husband on the farm. And I have a farm. And cannabis became legal that year in Oregon. And I went, wow, it's the new agriculture. Let's try that. And I started with a little medical grow and just grew from there. And so it started off as just kind of a farming exercise. And this plant, these beautiful feminine energy of love and healing, I have just kind of been following it. And they have led me to veterans on the street, to women who had, 86 bones broken in their body, and they're off of opioids, and this is the only thing that helps them. to people on the street who can't manage their screaming. And they just scream. And I thought, God, if I could just get that person an edible, it would at least stop the screaming. Because I really believe we all are screaming inside. I mean, this COVID thing has made us all scream. But most of us can manage it. And there's people out there that can't manage it. And I think cannabis is a great medicine to help manage those rushes of the endocannabinoid system, just the energy rushes that go through your body and make you scream. And so it's good medicine. Doesn't hurt, always helps. You know, you can't die of an overdose. You can't, it doesn't screw up your liver. It's just a beautiful medicine. And so I get deeper and deeper into the generosity of this plant. It just keeps leading me. It led me to Steve the Angelo, which now I'm part of the Last Prisoner Project. I'm on the board, which is an amazing project.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, I was going to say, how and why did you get involved with Steve in the Last Prisoner Project?
Well, I met Steve a few years ago, and I told him I had to grow, and that I was going to do the Blues Brothers, and he just kind of turned away. To him, it was like, oh, another actor wanting a licensing deal to make money. And I went, no, Blues Brothers is a brand. It's 42 years old. 40 years old. It represents music, mischievousness, and a mission from God. It's not just a pretty box with a name on it. I said, I grow it. I'm turning the soil. I just turned the soil Monday. We planted, 4 more rows. I use soil that's mixed with perlite and mulch, and we put a little nutrient in it. We rototill it. We put the irrigation on. We keep the soil at 64 degrees because that is where the roots really like to absorb the micronutrients. I mean, I'm a grower, Steve. And then when I said that it was a real brand, he turned around and said to me, let's have lunch sometime. So I went to Oakland, had lunch with him. We had long talks. And he's like a mentor to me. And then a venue fell apart on him in LA, and he said, can we use your house for this dinner, this benefit? And I said, sure. And it was the Last Prisoner Project. And then I just got sucked into that too. And it's just a beautiful mission. And so I'm working with him on that. So I just get led to great spiritual things. It's beautiful.
How much of your time now is cannabis, is the farm, is the Last Prisoner Project? I mean, you are a busy guy. So how much time
does this
take
it's
up?
not a busy time in my industry because everything.
Oh, also true. Now. Yeah.
So it's allowed me time,
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also not, listen, there was a period of time, 10, 15 years, that I was doing 3 movies a year and television shows for 8 years and working every day, and I'm never getting rest. So I did According to Jim, and then in the summer I did Broadway, and then the next fall I came back and did another series, and I've never had a moment. And so now that this farming started, I started making room for this because I'm truly finding who I am, being closer to the ground, working on something that has magic. I've said this before, I'm a magic chaser. I chase the magic. So I'm an improvisational actor, and when you're improvising in front of an audience with your cohorts, there's magic that happens. I saw my brother John with Harold Ramis and Joe Flaherty at Second City in 1971. In that room, I sat and watched that show, and I saw magic. And I want some of that magic. So I did Second City, and the magic of Saturday Night Live. And the magic when you act with somebody, when things come together, magic with a partner, magic. And there is so much magic in cannabis that I'm just chasing the magic. And I get led right to it. I get led to Steve D'Angelo. I get led to these veterans in Oregon. I get led to the Last Prisoner Project. I get led to beautiful people that really, most of the people in our industry come from that soulful place of healing. And then business comes in.
So it's always been that pull between the suits and the stoners, right? And, kind of...
in acting too, in the movies, it's like, you do commercial stuff, you do artistic stuff, but everything should have a message. Everything needs to have good context. It's show business, and it's cannabis business, medicine business. So there is a business aspect around this that's, it's finding its way.
So Jim, Ann and I, going off the Second City stuff here, Ann and I we saw you speak at the Benzinga conference last year in Chicago.
Oh.
And you showed an expert from a show you were creating about the farm and the harvest. Can you talk about that? Is it finished? Where can people find it?
The show is finished. We still got to do a little more mixing and a little color correction. But the first 2 episodes are mixed and color corrected. We got 4 more episodes to do that too. It's 6 half-hour episodes. It's called Growing Belushi. Originally, we called it The Dope in Oregon, which was kind of funny.
That is really funny.
And I thought the episode should be called The Dope in Oregon. So I think the first episode's called The Dope in Oregon. I just think the word dope might turn off some of my demo, just seeing that word dope,
Did you find that when you started, and you've been very vocal, about this work that you're doing and about the plant, and you're very moving when you talk about it. Have you seen people come and say I've always been a big fan, but I just can't, this isn't my thing, or has
not one?
No. Okay.
Not one.
Yeah.
I think maybe one comment out of 10,000 comments on the Instagram.
Yeah.
Saying this is the devil's thing. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But no, not one. I mean, so my mother-in-law is 80. Her boyfriend is 84. I went to dinner to their house. My wife was out of town. She thought, I would be lonely. I go, no, I would like to be a little lonely. She invited me over for dinner, and there was another couple, 79, 83, another couple, Stan Rosen. He's 84, and his wife was 80, and me. And these people have Fox News on 24 hours a day, loud. And I mean, I'm in a conservative group of people. I mean, I showered, I comb my... I'm an actor. I can be fine. I can act. I can do a 2-hour performance. All they wanted to talk about was CBD. Tell me, Jim, because my shoulder hurts, my hands. I can't move my hands right now, and I don't like the medicine that they're giving me because it makes me sleepy. Tell me, what is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? What is THC? What is this? It's like all of a sudden I'm talking about it, and then in the middle of dinner, I went home to my pharmacy, and I brought all these ointments. And the one woman, God bless her, 80 years old, I want the stuff that helps you have fun. So I gave her some of that. And they send me bottles of wine and champagne and ask if they get some more. And he can golf again with the salve I gave him. And
that's great.
So my point is that red, blue, it doesn't matter. We all have one thing in common. That's medicine.
Yeah.
And that demographic is among the fastest growing demographic. I think we all have those stories of our parents and parents' friends calling us. And it is truly bipartisan. I mean, it's one of those issues where it's near universal at this point. I mean, not near universal, but.
The point of my show is first of all, on my show, nobody's getting stoned.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not one of those comedies where people are like, This is a farm. These are workers. We're having trouble with mites. We're having trouble with aphids. We're the commodity, the price in Oregon went down. I'm trying to get a bigger price. We go to Columbia in it for 2 episodes looking for some landrace streams. We're trying to get the Blues Brothers IP. And I do these little educational pods in them, one on THC, CBD, one on edibles, and one on vaping. And they're just pure educational. And I think the audience it's like, Jim, he seems like a nice guy. He seems all right. Well, maybe it's not so bad. And then I'm going to say, okay, 2.5 grams of an edible, start with that. It'll help you sleep, get off that Ambien, get off that Xanax. You need a little bit more. 5 milligrams is like a warm hug.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here, start there, start slow, wait. The vape pens is very good too. This is distillate. This is full spectrum. This is how the pen works. Fill your mouth out, blow half, let half in, see how you feel. There's 1-to-1. There's 90%. Look at the packaging. Do not buy pens off the internet or on the street. Only in licensed, registered dispensaries, because they have testing.
Yeah.
So people like Stan and my mother-in-law, they're like, oh, okay. I might try that because I don't sleep well. My knee hurts. And Stan goes, and my wife bugs the hell out of me. I said, well, I have a great strain called Cherry Pie, which I call the marriage counselor. So she goes, he needs that, Anyway, I can go on and on. I'm so excited about this subject. So,
well, that's, I actually had plantar fasciitis for 2 years and I couldn't shake it for the life of me. I had shots of cortisone. I was taking opioids. Nothing worked whatsoever. And I was actually out with a colleague of mine. We were actually in Oregon visiting a client. And I was hobbling around his warehouse. And he's like, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm like, I have plantar fasciitis. I can't get rid of it. And he goes, take full spectrum CBD. Take it for 2 weeks. And it'll be gone. And I'm like, there's no way. And he's like, trust me. So he gave me some, to buy over the internet, which I did. And after the first week, I'm like, this stuff isn't working. I'm like, I spent $100 on this. After the second week, I got up out of bed and my wife's like, what happened to your foot? Everything's gone? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, it's gone. So after that, I was a full, firm believer in CBD.
I believe that the CBD, I think it needs a little bit of THC in it for the entourage effect to really boost the CBD healing properties. But I think everybody should start off with pure CBD and then kind of escalate a little bit. But you hear those stories over and over and over and over, and they're beautiful stories, and that's why the movement is just moving so rapidly. By the way, I think that all the politicians should try CBD and go, oh, I get it now.
Yes. I mean, I think they should try a little bit more than just CBD, but that's me. Can we, so I want to shift to, you talked about Cherry Pie and that's your, strain of choice when you consume. Can we talk about brand building in this industry? Because it is so hard because of the regulations. I mean, you know this better than anyone. Can you tell us how you've built and continue to build your brands and where can people find them?
Well,
do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I'm an actor, so I study my characters. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis studies his character for a year and then shoots the movie. I've been studying this character for 3 years, and it just gets deeper and deeper. And branding, I'm using Oregon as kind of I love it here, and I love the industry here. I mean, Oregon is the great state of cannabis. I mean, the cannabis here is I mean, right where I am right now is the middle of the banana belt where the sun and the water and the length of the days just grow the greatest outdoor. My head went into the river there for a minute. What was the question?
So just building a brand, yeah.
I used Oregon as my kind of experimental ground. This is where I've done all my learning. I have 38 dispensaries in Oregon. That's all I want. It's a boutique farm. I have great relationships with them. I visit each and every one of those dispensaries. I mean, today, after this, my cousin and I are going to deliver to 3 dispensaries personally. I do that all the time. And I talk to the bud tenders, the owners, the customers, I take photographs. And so I am doing, footwork on understanding the consumer and products. And I have tested out all the Blues Brothers boxes. I've made changes. I've tested it. We tested on the code. So this is my kind of regional testing market. So I'm set with my branding and my labeling, and I'm ready, and I know what kind of SKUs. But branding itself is not just a pretty box with a cool name.
Yeah.
I think branding is all about the why, the authenticity, and the transparency of what you're doing. So I've learned to grow. I've learned to cure, trim, package, sell, soil. I'm doing it all and enjoying every minute. So I think I bring authenticity to the product. I'm not just a celebrity trying to make 10% on a licensing deal. I think that's important to branding, the transparency and the authenticity. I think the why, it's got to have meaning, and I think the Blues Brothers does bring that meaning. The brand is an international brand that always brought joy.
Right.
Mischievous, the music resonates in you. Mm-hmm. And for me, the mission of God is not getting the $5,000 for a penguin. The mission from God is if we redid the Blues Brothers, okay, the penguin would be in a children's hospital.
Right.
And these kids would be having seizures and in pain, and they're on drugs. And the penguin says to the Blues Brothers, go out and legalize marijuana in this state so I can get the CBD and these products to my kids. And that would be the mission from God. So branding, there's a mission involved here. And then there's also, on the side, personally, my brother John died of a drug overdose. And I've said this before, and I really believe it. And Danny's the one who said it to me. He said, Jimmy, if Johnny was a pothead, he'd be alive today. I was like, yeah. But cannabis was thought of as a drug back then.
Well, there's a war on drugs going on back then. There still is.
Yeah. So I believe that the opiate problem is terrible. And the people on the streets in Portland that are screaming, I'm trying to find a way to get cannabis, and I'm working with some people now, the state and Portland, the OLCC, to create this dispensary right in that area in Portland, the Old Town area, where it's pay what you can. So you can pay 35 cents, we give it to you. But also because I can bring attention to it, it's also be kind of a tourist place.
Yep.
So if you can pay $10 for the gram, know that money is going to these people literally outside the door down the street.
Yep.
And I believe that it's a charitable organization, and I believe that most charities, you have to have benefits every year to raise money just to keep it going. This one is self-sustaining. And if it works in Portland, and by the way, it'll be one of the episodes of the show to help bring this attention to it. If it works, this could go in Los Angeles and New Orleans, and Kansas City, and Chicago, and Akron, Ohio, and New Jersey. I mean, I just believe if we can quiet their screaming, that the noise level in their heads may go down, and they may go, oh, I haven't talked to my cousin in 7 years. Reach out to a family member. Oh, I can't afford the alcohol, but I can afford this, and it's taking my PTSD down. I feel better. I'm not so depressed. Oh, it's a start for them to start going to the next step. And then hopefully there's enough money to even begin doing some counseling outside of the dispensary. So anyway, that's my vision. I haven't gotten there quite yet. COVID kind of put a stop to the momentum, but we're going to start literally next week.
So you mentioned Danny, and your partner in crime, and some of this is Dan Aykroyd. Talk to us about that relationship and how he fits into the business.
Well, when I started growing, I told him about it. And he went, oh, Jimmy, you should meet Captain Jack. And I said, wow, Captain Jack? I know Captain Jack. Yes, Jimmy. You've got to get his strain. It's one of the most beautiful strains I've ever had. Captain Jack was the weed dealer at SNL in the 70s. Captain Jack was known as the smell of SNL. The hallways were filled, and talk about skunky weed. I mean, it's got 4 or 5% terpenes in it. Okay, he got the seed from the mountains of Masharif in Afghanistan in 71, 72, and he's been growing it from seed to flower ever since. And that was the creative spark that those guys were smoking to write that shit. I said, so that's where you got cone heads. He goes, well, I think there was a combination of me and Captain Jack in that. So I'm growing Captain Jack as the smell of SNL. So Danny had that influence. Danny's in a TV show. And he's promoting, he loves the medicine. He promotes it. He believes, like I do, there wouldn't be as much death if people were smoking pot, not doing drugs or alcohol. I mean, I look at, I had a glass of wine the other night. I had a little whiskey the other night. I'm not saying that alcohol is poison, but it can be poison and kills a lot of people and breaks up and collapses a lot of families.
You've talked about cannabis playing different roles in people's lives, and you have said that you're a microdoser. Me too, and I'm an edible person. But a lot of people are using it for medical reasons, and you've been really vocal that there's a role for it, like you said, with people who struggle with opioid addiction. What would you like to see coming from, the federal government in terms of, studies, or I guess what's the next logical step in order to get to where you want to be, where, you can, this is something that's affordable, that there's no shame in it, that it's actually seen as medicine. What do you think we need to do to get there?
Well, the first thing we need to do is release everybody that's in jail for being arrested for marijuana. There's men in jail for 17 years that got busted in New Orleans for, jazz musician for having, a bag of pot. And he had a family with 3 kids and a wife, and it totally collapsed that family. There's men and women in prison for something that's legal right now. And I think the first thing is to get those people that are suffering and those families back together. That's what I really believe. Mm-hmm. The federal government is, they'll come along. I think they're coming along, and I think they will. And I think what will happen will happen. I eventually believe that, that SAFE Act will come and the banking will be open, and that there's money involved and there's taxes involved, and most of the states believe in it, and you can have an opt-out if you want, but they should federally legalize it and decriminalize it, move it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 15, whatever, because it helps ever and hurts never.
Well, we had one of your congressmen on, Earl Blumenauer, a couple of weeks ago, and there's no better advocate, really, at least in the House, for all of this that's happening right now, and he's working to ensure that businesses that are now deemed essential, are able to get some of the federal relief afforded, from the PPP and all of this other stuff. Do you think, there's such a place for Oregon leadership here? Where do you think other states can be learning from what you guys are doing in Oregon?
Oh, I don't know, because I'm not in those states. I can't speak to their compliance and their laws very well. I mean, they're all just separate silos. And that's the other thing about the brand. And it's hard to get a national brand because each state has its own compliance. I mean, Illinois is difficult because you can only sell what you grow and in the dispensary, and they're selling every gram. So how do we even brand anything? Because we just put it out there and sell it. And then there's states like California and Oregon where I could be an independent grower and sell to anybody. So there's so many different things going on in each state. So it's hard for me to comment on that. On other states. I mean, Oregon has always been kind of a leader in things. And I got to tell you, the OLCC, the Regulatory Commission, Steve Marks, who runs that, these guys are not our enemy. Everybody resents authority, the OLCC. I go, no, man. When I got my license, I said to Steve, thank you for trusting me. And I'm going to honor you for honoring me with this license. We are partners, and I don't steal a dime from my partner, and I don't break our covenant and our rules. And you're my partner, and they have been great. You call them with a problem, they tell you how to solve it. They're a little slow on getting licenses out, but they're working on that. They're always concerned about, his biggest concern is there's a law here where you can only buy 27 grams, but the people who need the medicine, they want to make their RSO oil out of it. And they need more than 27 grams in order to make that oil. So how do we get the medical people able to buy more at a medical price in order for them to make their medicine for their cancer or their the diseases that they're suffering from? So the government here is always working to try to help. So I'm pleased with them.
So are you just going to stick to Oregon, or are you going to look at expanding out to other states?
Well, I'm in the process now. I'm ready. My TV show will probably launch in the fall. Greg, my great partner in this, CEO, we are negotiating with many different multi-state operators, chocolate makers, Bang Chocolate, which is a great chocolate, and I've been through them all. Although I like Kiva in California too, they do a nice job. She's really good. And Wild up here does really great gummies. Anyway, so we're in the process of doing that, getting set up in every state that we want to be in. All my packaging is done. All my sales stuff is done. My deck is done. So it's been a slow build. And I think by fall, late summer, fall, we'll be out with the Blues Brothers and the Belushi Secret Stash and Captain Jack. And I got another brand that I really like called Good Ugly Weed. It's just cheap, good weed.
That's amazing. And that's also going to be a brand that expands?
Yes. Yeah. All four of them. Blues Brothers, a Belushi Secret Stash, Captain Jack, Good Ugly Wee.
Nice. So you've been so generous with your time. I have one more question for you. I know music is so part of your life, and you're such a talented musician, but I also read somewhere that you sing to your plants. Is that true?
Don't you mind in your face? Don't you mind grinning in your face, Lord? Just keep this in mind. A true friend is hard to find. Don't you mind people grinning in your face? Good old gospel music when we harvest. Because I want the girls to know that they're going into the light. So we bring gospel music, and during the day, I mean, I sing, I play harmonica for them, but I have sonos in there. So in the morning, you know, we play some, like, especially when they're young, like right now, like the girl that works with me, she thinks I'm goddamn nuts. Like, Amanda, put Marvin Gaye on. I want Marvin Gaye, Pendergrass. I want Barry White. I want all that love, baby, sweet music for them to wake up to. And then I said in the afternoon, we'll go a little reggae. Around 4, let's hit them with some R&B, some blues. And then again, as they get older, we start playing a little more gospel for them. Mm-hmm. And they love the gospel. You know, because they know Jesus is in the room.
Well, your harvest parties have become kind of epic, right? And it's this mass integration of, you know, you can tell you're so passionate, but of the culture and of the music and of the plant. So,
you just listed,
yeah,
the whole marketing thing.
Yeah,
you know, mischievousness, the fun, the music, and the mission from God. And that's the why in the branding. And that's why Steve D'Angelo went, we should have lunch sometime. Because he said, you're the only one that gets it. Out of the celebrities, you get it.
Well, you're one of the few that your hands are in the earth. You own the grow. You know, you're a true farmer. You're not, you know, like you said, licensing it out. So, I mean, that just shows a true investment. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? To ask the interview question.
I always love that question. I guess I could never answer it.
I mean, I think people in 2015 would.
5 years.
No idea. No idea.
I know this will be a little wider.
There's going to be more wrinkles.
Bigger.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm healing and feeling love and getting love and celebrating, you know, joyous times. And, you know, self-discovery is the way to be, you know, and this leads you to self-discovery too.
Well, I love it. And I have not tried any of your weed yet. I have not been up to Oregon in probably about a year. So I'm excited to get back up there.
We'll have to go.
Yeah. Field trip.
Cherry pie, marriage counselor. You know, I mean, look, I'm all about the entourage effect.
Yeah.
The combination of the high terpenes, some CBD, and about an 18 to 19% THC. That entourage effect. There's no paranoia. Mm-hmm. You're just super cool. I mean, my wife literally goes, aren't you being charming? And it was like, nah, it's the cherry pie. It's not me. Maybe it is me.
It's the best version of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. You can have that.
But the Black Diamond OG that I have is what the veterans here really like. I mean,
really?
Well, you know, I do dispensary visits, and they have these long lines in the parking lot. And I go in, and then I talk to them, show them the weed, and take photographs. But I was walking one time, and there was a skinny gal, long hair, blue eyes, little beard, skinny, and I kind of try to touch everybody before I go in. Not anymore.
Well,
but shake their hand, I see inside, thanks for coming, and then I go in, and this guy just stared at me, and I stopped. I went, man, you all right? And he said, I was a vet in Iraq. I mean, a medic in Iraq, and I saw things that happen to the human body that nobody should ever witness. And they tell me I have 3 PTSDs. I don't know what that means, but I guess PTSD in a big way. And he goes, I have a wife and I've got 2 kids and I have a hard time talking to them and I can't sleep. And I'm not taking those pills anymore. And your Black Diamond OG is the only strain that calms me to a place where I can talk to my children and I sleep. And he kind of teared up a little bit and he hugged me. And I said, man, I didn't make this, And he goes, no, but you're the steward. And that was the paradigm shift for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because right after that, every dispenser I went to, all of a sudden, there were veterans in wheelchairs. They were coming, and the vets particularly like the BDOG. And then each strain that I have has different kinds of places. But I call that assisted living.
That's amazing. Well, what is it about the Black Diamond, do you think, that specifically addresses?
The crystals on it, it's like white, it looks like snowflakes almost. So right. The calyx of the bud is nice and thick, which also we have problems with mold if we don't take it out in time. But it's a higher THC. The terpene levels aren't as high as the cherry pie, but I don't know. There's something about the combination with the OG in there that it's much more of an indica. It's a body move. So I think it relaxes the nerves. I have a friend of mine, Johnny Wheels, who I do concerts with, who's in a wheelchair. He had a swimming accident when he was 12. And he's paralyzed from the chest down. And he's in a TV show. We jammed together with me, him, and Danny.
That's cool.
And he likes the chocolate hashberry because he can't control his legs. And they move on him. And the chocolate hashberry stops it. So he likes it for that. So everybody has their medicine that they pick,
So how many different strains do you have then?
Well, the majority of them, I have about 6 strains, but then I have about 6 other strains. I have this Jeffrey Iverson who does out of Bend, who's just got beautiful, more sativa, high. They're all about terpenes here. Really high in terpenes. I got bubble mint. I got lemon chiffon. I got this one vanilla wafer from him that we grow and do very well with. And then I went in the TV show, I go to Colombia and I got 4 seeds down there. I got the Santa Mata Gold, the Punto Rojo, which is a sister seed to Panama Red. I got the Mango Biche, which is huge limonene terpenes in it. And I got a new one on a farmer that I met that he said would be an honor if you had our seeds. And I tried it down there, and it was like Captain Jack stuff. But it's a hybrid. So landrace strains usually have a little lower THC levels, but this was a hybrid, so it had a higher THC but great terpenes. And so I have 4 new ones that I'm experimenting with, and then along with Captain Jack. So yeah, I got a farm.
I love it. Well,
I'm growing pumpkins. I'm growing tomatoes and peppers.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Not to sell, but for the kitchen,
But before you moved to Oregon, did you have any farming experience at all?
I have a memory. My father owned a restaurant in Chicago, and on Saturday, we would drive into the farmland from our house. In between was farmland, and we'd go to this farm. And he was very friendly with the farmer. And we'd go out into the field, and you can get a bushel of tomatoes for $1. And my dad and I would pick these tomatoes, and the farmer would help us. He liked my dad. And he carried a salt shaker with him. Oh, Adam, look at this, He'd clean it, and we'd eat tomatoes, the best tasting tomatoes ever. And that moment that I share with my dad and on that farm is maybe I'm chasing that moment of magic. Magic chaser.
I love that. Keep chasing the magic.
Thank you.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much. You're so generous with your time.
I'm talking too much because
we love it.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, we appreciate it, and we're excited for your brand. We want really good things for you. Good luck with what's happening with COVID and everything. We hope everything kind of gets restarted for you soon, and come back in a couple months, see where you guys are.
I would love to come back when we do the official launch, and maybe with the TV show too. That would be great.
You got it. Anytime.
Yeah.
And keep us posted on that harvest party.
That's fun, man. Talk about magic right on the river, the sun coming over. I mean, it's gorgeous.
I bet. That sounds fantastic.
I mean, I'm in LA. Portland is a really easy flight. Not that I'm invited.
I'll be on the next flight out from New Jersey.
There you go. Yeah, well, it's usually the end of September, beginning of October. We'll see about this year. But Danny comes. I get the band. Johnny Wheels plays. The Cattlemen's Association.
Really?
They serve the meat. And if you know this beef is good, if it's coming from the Cattlemen's Association.
Yeah.
We just have a ball. We throw hatchets, we play horseshoes, bocce ball, baseball. It's fun. And the guy, John Demick, the guy for Cattlemen's Association, Oregon guy, older guy. You would think is conservative kind of guy, right? He slices the beef for everybody. And he turned to me and he goes, I've done weddings and I've done all kinds of celebrations with this. And I have to say, Jim, this is the nicest group of people I've ever served.
Really?
And I said, yeah. I said,
That's great.
They're all lovely. Anyway, I'm going to go.
I love it. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Our thanks to Jim Belushi. Check out what he's doing at belushisfarm.com. And they also have an excellent social media channel on Instagram at Belushi's Farm. And we'll make sure to update you guys on when his show is running, where it's running, where you can find it or download it. As always, thanks for listening. If you want to chat with us, you can find us on Twitter with the handle at @the_GreenRush, or on Instagram at @the_GreenRush_podcast, or drop us an email at greenrush@kcsa.com. We're always looking for feedback and guest ideas. Don't forget to subscribe to The Green Rush in your favorite podcatcher. That's one take, Shay. One take.
Cannabis! Cannabis! Cannabis!